Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Indy Bindy, and if you don't know how to cornrow or stitch braid, this one is for you. It was only less than a year ago that I learned how to cornrow, and let me tell you, it was not a pretty process. But with practice, I was really able to understand the technique behind it, and now it's so easy I can't even remember why it was ever so hard. So today, I'm here to give you a detailed cornrow / stitch braid tutorial with tips and tricks that I have found most helpful. So the first thing I'm going to do is part out my section. The bigger or wider the section, the bigger the braid, of course, and I'm going to use my red Shine and Jam and apply it around the outside of the braid. So what we're going to talk about first is stitch braids. So the difference between a stitch braid and a cornrow is basically the look. Stitch braids are carefully stitched so that each section is like crisp, while cornrows, it doesn't really matter. All you're doing is grabbing hair with your hands. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys how to stitch braid just because it is something that's really trendy right now and I want to include both. So what you're going to need is this comb, and this comb is a dual-sided comb. As you can see, this side has a smaller piece and the other side has a larger piece, and what you're going to do is want to use the smaller piece to create your stitches. There are two methods to doing this. Some people use the tip of their pinky nail to create the stitches, but I'm going to show you guys both. So I'm going to start off by using just a regular rat tail comb to part off my front piece, and I'm going to split that front piece into 3 sections. So after we have these 3 sections, we're going to start braiding. So I'm going to take that right piece, go underneath the middle one, and grab the left piece, and repeat the same thing on the other side. So for my hand positioning, I'm using my index finger and my thumb to grab the pieces of hair, while I'm using my middle finger, as you can see, to press down against the base of the braid to make sure that it's tight. And this is going to be a common repeating thing that's going to happen throughout the entire braid. So now we're going to incorporate using the comb for our stitches. So you're going to take the smaller side of your comb and drag it horizontally into your index finger and thumb. And this is what makes a cornrow a cornrow. You're picking up hair along the way of the braid that's going to make it lay flat against the scalp. Now when I'm stitching, when I'm not using the comb, I place it like underneath my chin, or you can put it on the table next to you, or I've seen some people put it in another section of the client's hair. It really just depends on where you want to put your comb, but I put it underneath my chin. And we're going to continue to create our stitches, placing it in between the index and thumb and adding it to the section of hair. So for example, you know a braid has 3 sections and you intertwine those sections to create the braid. In stitch braiding or cornrowing, you're adding in a piece of hair to each section while continuing the braid. While braiding, you also kind of want to pull on the braid itself so that the length of the braid is like tight. Like you see me pull here, I'm making sure that my braid is tight and not wonky looking before continuing to stitch. As you can see, as I got farther down the head, I did switch my hand positioning to an underhand position, which means my hands are flipped inverted. And this position is just comfortable for me. I am an underhand braider naturally, but if you want to continue braiding overhand, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to start off braiding underhand, I just find this the easiest for me. So the second stitch braid that I'm going to show you, I'm going to use the pinky technique to create the stitches. Now, I don't necessarily like to use this method. I prefer the comb method over the pinky method just because the comb stitches are a lot neater and easier to create. And also, I don't have a sharp pinky nail. If I had a pointy pinky nail, it probably would be easier to create the stitches, but that's just not how my nails are set up. So I'm going to show you guys using my pinky. So we're going to be doing the same process as before, starting off with the section in the front and splitting it up into 3 pieces, and then beginning to braid. But this time, as we pick up hair along the way, we're going to use our pinky nail instead of the comb. And you're going to be able to see the side-by-side difference. Some people are able to really grip the hair and get it to be really sharp, but it's just a little difficult for me. But a tip that I also have is to hold the hair upward before using your pinky to stitch it. So you can see I'm like pulling on the hair and then using my pinky. This is gonna like aim the hair upward so that you're able to actually scoop up the hair with your finger. The third and final example that I'm going to show you is just going to be a basic cornrow. Now for these, the section that you're working with kind of has to be a little smaller because the wider the section, it's gonna have to be a stitch braid. But when your sections are a little skinnier, you're able to just grab hair without really paying attention to the stitch part. So here in this example, I'm kind of just grabbing hair at my free will, and I'm not really caring what the stitch looks like. So to some people, I might have started off a little bit backwards. Stitch braids might be harder for you versus cornrows, but honestly, I think it's important to know how to do both because essentially it's the same technique, just with minor differences. And the last example that I'm going to show you guys is just going to be a little skinnier than the previous one. I wanted to show you guys a variety of different kinds of stitch braids and cornrows just so you can get a feel and really grasp the technique that I'm using because it's really all the same. So this one, the section's smaller, so I'm really just picking up random pieces. There's no rhyme or reason to the stitch. I'm just cornrowing. So here's the final finished product of my stitch braids and cornrows. I really hope this helped you guys figure out the technique behind it, and if you have any questions, definitely leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching.